Hello everyone, this is your guy Rajat from rainstudios.com, and in this video we are going to talk about some of the practical problems faced by Indian developers in becoming a top-notch software professional. So let's get started. Before getting started, I would request you all to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. So let's start with problem number 1. Computer hardware is kind of costly in India, right? If you want to buy a decent laptop, it will cost you around 40,000 Indian rupees or maybe above that price range. Okay, so buying a computer is a major decision which has to be taken by a middle class or low middle class family, and it will take around 1 or 2 months of figuring out which computer to buy, and there is a lot of discussion and pondering over how much RAM should I get, what kind of processor should I get, what kind of graphics card should I get, and will it be enough for my programming needs or not, and things like that. And yes, 40,000 is a lot of rupees. It can be someone else's 2 months salary. It is kind of a big decision to make if you want to buy a computer for your kid, right? But let me tell you something. If you want to get started with programming, you don't need the powerful hardware to learn programming or to get started in the programming field. Even a second-hand desktop computer would do. You can easily find desktop computers, maybe second-hand computers in 7,000 to 8 or 9,000 rupees range, and you can even start programming with a computer which is having 512 MB of memories. You can install Java, you can install Python, you can install C or C++. You can get started with creating programs and writing algorithms based program and getting perfected, right? So you don't need powerful hardware just to get started in software development, right? But yes, if you are targeting things like Android development, iOS development, then you require powerful hardware, because these things demand of new and powerful hardware, because these things are kind of new and they require a lot of horsepower to run, right? But yes, for basic programming and to learn programming in general, or to learn web programming or web development, you don't need that much of a powerful hardware just to get started. The second major problem in perfecting your software development profile is that you don't get internet so easily and in cheap prices, right? Internet is kind of costly in India, right? We are paying 2200 Indian rupees just to get Wi-Fi from Airtel, right? And when I go to my hometown, I witness that internet is not so readily available in second tier or third tier cities, right? So that is a problem. If we are going to compare with our counterparts sitting at US or UK or any developed country, they are having uninterrupted access to the internet, so they can download npm packages and dependencies from the internet. They can collaborate with other developers sitting over the other end of the internet, right? So if we don't have access to internet, we cannot do any of those stuff, right? And internet is not easily available thing in India, right? So that is also a major hurdle in it. So you cannot just take a flight or take a bus to somewhere and think that you will be getting 100% coverage while being on the journey, right? So that is the problem in India. The third problem, which I think is a major obstacle in getting perfected as a software developer, is our education system and our desi way of teaching how to code, right? So you have got desi textbook written by some desi developers, or maybe even some wannabe developers, those who haven't developed even a single application, right? So in most of the agenda or most of the curriculum which are being taught in our Indian colleges and school are outdated. Let's consider how they teach you Java in those institutes or universities and schools. They teach you how to design if else. They teach you how to write switch statements. They teach you how to use the collection framework, but they never teach you what to do with that collection framework. They never teach you why would you use a tree map or a hash map. They never tell you where that particular technology is useful and what are the use cases for the technology. So whenever a student is learning about collection framework or tree maps or things which looks so abstracted that they cannot relate that thing to the actual life or to the reality. And when the moment arrives in their life in the future that they need that kind of data structure to use, they have no idea that that data structure can be used in this scenario, right? Because they have never thought about hash maps in such a way, and that's why they cannot relate to it. If you are going to ask them the theoretical concept of hash map, maybe they would be able to regurgitate all of the stuff they have learned in the university. But if you ask them to relate and to implement that stuff in their day-to-day programming life, they cannot, because they have never been taught in that way, right? They have never been taught that whatever they are learning has some kind of physical or real significance in real programming. So for universities and schools, it is all about learning how to write if syntax, switch syntax, collection framework syntax, and do general public static void main syntax in Java, or how to create functions in Python, and regurgitate all of the stuff in the final passing exam, and that is it. And as soon as you get the degree, as soon as you get that certificate from that institute or university, you are done, you are officially a programmer. But in fact you are not. You have learned some stuff and you regurgitated all of that onto a paper. That is the thing you have done, right? So I think that schools are basically responsible for bad Indian programmers. Our 4 point is that most of the people who are being employed in the IT industry are not actually interested about technology. They are being forced into the industry because in our culture we have figured out that getting into IT is the most easiest way to earn money, right? So they are in for the money, they are not in for the love of the technology. Hence they suck at programming. They never put any kind of effort from their side to excel in programming or to learn anything new like recursions and tail call optimizations and things like that. You ask any normal IT professional from India, they won't be having idea about these kind of things. They cannot even implement BFS or DFS, right, without consulting a book. They cannot even tell you the concepts because they are not clearly interested about the technology. They are in for the money and they just go in there, write some random code or the code which just works, and they leave security flaws everywhere, and they just withdraw that paycheck at the end of the month and they are done, right? Nobody is doing that for the love of technology. And then there are some employees who are actually loving whatever they are doing. You can compare the code quality of those two individuals and you will get to know the results, right? So people in India are forced into IT sector because just they want to put the food on the table and they are clearly not interested in the technology. The fifth reason is that the firms who are employing developers never take their time or resources to help their employees develop new skills and to help their employees perfect whatever skills they are already having, right? So there are conferences happening everywhere around the world and even in India. But consider asking your managers to allow you to go to some conference, right? And just notice the look on his face, right? And most of the conferences charge you some amount of money, and then the company will tell you you don't need to go to that conference, and they will give you some kind of excuse so that you just drop the plan of going to that conference. So that is the situation, right? They don't want to invest any kind of money or resource, and they don't want to give you any free time so that you can just go out and learn new stuff which can be beneficial in uplifting your skills and uplifting your overall persona as a developer, so that you can contribute better towards the upliftment of the company itself, right? Because most of the companies are sweatshops. They are only concerned about churning out code blocks so that the project gets completed as soon as possible, right? It is all about survival, right? Nobody is thinking about code, right? Nobody is thinking about creating best quality software. Everybody is thinking about, okay, this should get completed by Monday and we have to deliver it by Tuesday, and that is it. We don't care about whether tests are getting passed or not, whether integration is working or not, whether we are shipping beta code into production. None of that issue matters in most of the firms in India, right? So I have read some questions on Quora, like these sweatshops are paying people peanuts, right? And they ask you to write some random code, and a code that just works, and I don't know what they are doing, right? So that is also a crippling factor for us, right? We are just tasked with developing beta code, and we are not giving any opportunity to improve, right? And if you want to improve, you have to devote your weekends and your extra hours after your job, and even those normal regular working hours suck the soul out of you, so you practically don't have energy left to work on your extra learnings, right? So firms who are employing young developers should change their attitudes towards learning process, and it should never be that once you are out of college the learning will stop. The learning should always continue, right? And if you are a young professional, I would request you all to just keep learning new stuff so that you can easily make your own choices and you won't be forced by your employers to do some crappy work. Okay, the last point, this can be an opinionated point, but anyways I will say it. See, our Indian society is wired like government jobs are better as compared to private jobs. Now if you understand the scenario is like that most of the jobs in computer field are being provided by private companies and not the government organizations, right? So if you are coming from a lower middle class or a middle class or even from high class, your parents or your relatives must have asked you to appear for some kind of government exam so that you can secure a government job which is kind of stable and which can give you regular paychecks at the end of the month without any kind of insecurity, right? So that is the thing. So most of the young adults who are growing up, they have this idea or the seed already planted that whenever they are in the third or fourth year, they have to go for exams like bank POs and SSC and things like that. And if nothing works out, if they are not able to secure one of those jobs, then only they will consider getting any programming related job. So now you can clearly see that their focus was somewhere else. They wanted to be a government employee, but when nothing worked out, they are forced into IT sector, they are forced into programming stuff, and hence they actually suck, right? They were never interested about the programming. And this goes back to my point where I talked about why people actually suck, because they are not interested in programming and they are only concerned about putting food on the table. So this is also that same thing, but yes, I think that focusing too much on preparing for government examinations take a large amount of your time, and people are devoting more than 10 hours studying for government exam, and when they are not able to secure any government seat, they come for programming. And let me tell you something, that if you see a good programmer, he has devoted years and years into practicing his art. Nothing comes that easy, right? So don't get jealous when you see that programmer can perform so fast and he is so proficient at his art. He has devoted his time much in a similar way as you have devoted your time getting prepared for government exams, right? So if that proficient coder and you are going to sit for the exam, obviously you are going to score higher because he has not prepared for that exam and you have not prepared for coding, right? So it is kind of that, right? So make sure you always weight things before diving into anything, right? So if you are remotely interested in programming, or if you have this idea that I will appear for government exam and if nothing works out, I have to go into IT. So while preparing for such exams, you can keep tabs on what is happening in IT, and you can program maybe 10 minutes or 20 minutes a day so that you don't forget the stuff you have learned in the university, right? And when the time arrives, you are very ready, right? So think like that. And with that, I'm concluding this video, and make sure you subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up and share it with your buddies who you think can actually become a good programmer but somehow are not getting it started, right? So thank you all for your time. Take care. Bye bye.